In the fall of 2021, I was scrolling through my Twitter timeline, trying to fall asleep. As I scrolled, I passed this meme that made me audibly say the words LOL. It was a meme about the Minions. It read, "Never ask a woman her age, a man his salary, and the Minions who they served from 1933 to 1945, donned with an ifunny.co logo." As I laughed, I began to think critically about the meme. I realized that there's no way the Minions could have served Hitler, that being the joke, as the Minions were stuck in a glacier at that time. I was frightened by the fact that I not only knew this off the top of my head, but that I also knew essentially the entire plot of the movie like the back of my palm. I had not seen the film since I was 9, so I did something that no one over the age of 6 has probably ever done. I voluntarily rewatched the Minions movie. As I rewatched the movie, I realized that I knew truly nothing about the Minions.
To end the long night of their
Crucify him!
Shall I crucify your king?
Pilate asked.
We have no king but Caesar.
The chief priests answered. Finally, Pilate handed him over to them to be crucified. So, the soldiers took charge of Jesus. Carrying his own cross, he went out to the place of the skull, which in Aramaic is called Golgotha. Here they crucified him, and with him 2 others, one on each side, and Jesus in the middle.
To begin, let's just base this video off the assumption that you, the viewer, are aware of what the Minions are. I'll briefly explain the plot of the Minions movie, which I highly suggest avoiding, and after that I'll delve into the actual theory. If you personally think that you're confident in your Minions 2015 lore knowledge, then you are a liar. There's a bunch of important evolutionary stuff at the beginning of the movie I'll go into later, and this is a good time to note that if you see a watermark in the corner of a clip I'm using, I'm sorry, I didn't want to shell out money to buy Minions 2015. Anyway, the Minions kill a T-Rex and commit a bunch of other wartime atrocities on their way to the front lines of the Napoleonic Wars, fighting next to the leader of France himself, Napoleon. The Minions fire upon Napoleon, causing them to be chased away by his army into a nearby glacier. There, they are temporarily happy, until they realize that, without a boss, their life has no purpose. One Minion collapses into the snow, killing itself. As time goes on, around 150 years, a Minion named Kevin takes initiative, and decides to explore the outside world. He brings along 2 other Minions, Stuart, who is uncomfortable to watch, and Bob. They sail across an ocean with no food or water, and reach New York City. There, they steal some overalls and see an advertisement on a television about a eugenics conference. They meet this incredibly white, incredibly evil family while trying to hitchhike to the eugenics conference. They rob a bank, and the Minions kill a bunch of cops. After this, they reach the eugenics convention and learn of Scarlet Overkill, a woman who has a particular vendetta against the British monarchy. They are recruited by Overkill and are given a mission to steal the crown from the Queen of England. The Minions attempt this, and hijinks ensue. The Minions, unsuccessful in their mission, pull the sword from the stone. Bob becomes King of England and ruins their legal code. Scarlet is mad, and they give her the monarchy because of this. Overkill locks the Minions in a medieval torture dungeon and tries to hang them, unsuccessfully. They escape because they are unkillable single-celled organisms of pure evil, and try to kill the Queen of England once again. Hijinks again ensue, a nuke explodes over London, and then they follow Gru after he steals the crown. Okay, that is the briefest summary of the Minions movie I could muster. I'm very sorry. Now, critical Minion theory. What is it? Critical Minion theory is the name I have given to multiple theorems and theories of mine about the Minions movie. These theories and theorem are all under the general banner of Critical Minion Theory, CMT. Additionally, this video will go into things that aren't theories and are simply facts of the Minion movie. For example, the Minions owned slaves. This is not an assumption, This is a canon fact in the movie The Minions Own Slaves. We will also be exploring the meta of the Minions, how they evolved, operate, etc. The structure of the video will be as follows: evolution in nature, intellect, known canon atrocities, critical Minion Theory Tenet 1, critical Minion Theory Tenet 2, critical Minion Theory Tenet 3, Martin Luther King Jr. theory, the Despot's Crisis, and the conclusion. So, let's begin with their evolution. In the opening credits of the film, the Minions are shown emerging from the primordial soup somewhere off the coast of Africa, having been given the gift of life. The Minions then, and this is incredibly important to know, are shown evolving limbs and extremities without the aid of natural selection or evolution. Within literal minutes, the Minions are shown growing to the size of a small child, as well as having gained the capability to breathe on land, or not breathe at all. The implications of this are endlessly terrifying. The Minions can change at a whim, DNA like putty in their metamorphic hands. This scene also demonstrates another one of the Minions' more important attributes, their genetic simplicity. They have no organs as far as we know, aside from the eyes and limbs they created in the soup, and most likely a nervous system. This simplicity may be the secret behind the Minions' eternal life, well, at least 66 million year old life. Just for the record, the Despicable Me movie is a reference to the shutting down of Lehman Brothers, meaning a 2008 recession is canon, and thus dates the Minions at latest 2008, also confirms the existence of Obama. The screenwriter of the movies, Brian Lynch, confirmed that the Minions are immortal beings and cannot be killed by anything aside from themselves. Combine this with the fact that the Minions can reproduce despite having no genitals. The Minions are functionally infinite. They don't need food, only ever eating out of boredom. They don't drink water, same deal. And they don't breathe oxygen. The only Minion who ever dies in any of the films is the aforementioned Minion who kills himself in the glacier. Now, here's two things that couldn't really fit in the theory, but I still wanted to mention. Minions can be cracked like glow sticks and shown. I just found that funny. Minions are immune to radiation, probably as a side effect of their DNA warping ability. Minion cancer isn't really a topic, explored in the Minions movie, despite numerous Minions being exposed to radiation. One Minion survives a direct nuclear blast, and there's a part I can't find where Herb is showing them around the lab and they just directly step into a puddle of nuclear waste. Minions are attracted to human women. This implies that there's an evolutionary benefit for Minions to be attracted to humans. This connection helps prove the idea that Minions have existed in multiple human cultures over many different years and eras. In the Minions movie, there is one giant plot detail which is essential to understanding the connection between humans and Minions. Let's say it's 1968 in England. Margaret Thatcher is rising through the ranks of British Parliament. 10 years ago, a poll taken in Birmingham found that only 15 out of 1,000 British people would lend a room to a black tenant. The IRA would be founded in a year as a result of British oppression, and all is generally well. Then all of a sudden, an Irish guy pulls the sword from the stone. Do you honestly believe that the people of England at that time would accept an Irishman in open arms as their king? No! The British Raj was 20 years ago. Now let's change Irishman to Minion. The people in the Minions movie accept the Minions as their royalty in open arms. Why is this? I posit that this is because the Minions are so ingrained in human societies that Minions are treated better by humans than even other humans. For example, the Minions are taken into a Southern family's car to go to a eugenics convention in 1960s America. Now, if a random small pill-like yellow creature approached me to tag along to a eugenics convention and I'm racist as all hell, I would probably kick the Minion like a football, or less humorously, shoot the thing. However, they don't, and even if they did, it really wouldn't matter. You can't kill a god. The Minions sail from, presumably Siberia, to New York City, backtracking a bit, without any food or water. I base this assumption off the fact that, despite the fact that they brought along a backpack, they've been living in a glacier for literally 150 years. I don't know about you, but I don't think that, no matter how intelligent the Minions are, that the Minions developed agriculture inside a glacier with no soil or seeds. To sail from Siberia to New York City, one would either have to go through the Arctic Ocean or go around the Pacific through the Panama Canal. Assuming that the Minions would have just landed in Panama if they set out there, let's go with the Arctic route. Since they drifted and never once used a sail or a motor, the Minions would have had to have somehow gone around the Gulf Stream around the north coast of Russia, where they would logically depart, and hit the current off the coast of Greenland. From there, they'd find themselves in the Labrador Current, then being swept away by the Gulf Stream, and there, hopefully taken down the Canary Current. Here, assuming they didn't get swept down the coast of Africa, the Minions would then be circled back around through the Gulf Stream, hitting the coast of Hispaniola, then reaching New York City. Again, assuming that there wasn't a single break on land, as if they had, they most likely would have searched for a villain to follow there. That means that the Minions survived over 14,000 miles of sea travel without drinkable water, food, or cover from the harsh ocean sun. They canonically tanked a nuclear bomb. I highly doubt the sun could put a dent into them. Assuming that the average ocean current of the Gulf Stream remains at 4 miles per hour, and that no oddities occur on said stream, then the Minions would have had to exist without any of these necessities for around 146 days. One would at least assume that eventually the Minions would eat something, or drink something on land, being incredibly deprived of all necessities. However, only one Minion eats in the city, the rest doing goofy Minions antics the entire time. This again implies that the Minions only eat when they're bored, not when they need to. So, the Minions can't be starved, eviscerated, harmed, and live infinitely. They die when they're bored, their entire existence based on pursuing entertainment. The Minions have been on this planet longer than essentially every intelligent creature to ever exist. They can evolve at a whim, and yet we don't see any physical changes in the Minions after they leave the primordial soup. What could it be that they have been correcting and evolving this entire time? The Minions, throughout the movie, show thought processes and abilities only possible with some sort of higher intelligence than a normal animal, like that on the level of a human. So here's a couple things from the movie. Sorry to keep rehashing the same footage over and over again, it's just very important to deconstruct this scene in particular, that further this point. The Minions have the self-awareness to feel naked, despite having lived in the water and thus clothing being entirely useless. This is most likely an evolutionary thing, evolved by the Minions simply because the Minions thought it would look cool. This cannot, however, be an example of how Minions have evolved to suit their masters, as Minions existed long before the time of man. This shows that Minions were in fact the first species to ever wear clothing, possibly spreading this scientific advancement to humanity, showing that maybe the Minions were the integral part of humanity's evolution, instead of humanity being an integral part of Minions' evolution. This also shows that the Minions are both self-conscious and aware of concepts usually only learnt through societal pressure. Minions have mental health problems, like humans. In the glacier scene at the beginning of the movie, there's a therapist giving another Minion mental help. This confirms two things about the Minions and their intellect, and by extension their nature. This confirms that the Minions have jobs and understand the concept of surpluses and basic economics, while also confirming that Minions can suffer from mental health issues. Additionally, this scene shows that the Minions developed psychoanalysis before Sigmund Freud, as they reached the glacier around 1812, while psychoanalysis was coined by Freud in the 1890s. The Minions can operate siege weaponry and a whole host of other weaponry within minutes of seeing it. The Minions produce music for entertainment rather than for communication. These two things matter less than the other two, but I just thought it would be good to mention them. So those are the couple of notable feats in the movie demonstrating the Minions as having an at least caveman level of brain power. Now, for the feats which may be considered above human intelligence, demonstrating intellect on the level of something greater than man. Minions develop an entirely new language as soon as they exit the ocean at the beginning of the movie. The language, called Minionese, is a mixture of multiple human languages. A couple, not all, but a couple of the languages they creoled into Minionese, or humans creoled into their own languages, are Spanish, English, Italian, French, Japanese, Filipino, and some Hebrew. This wouldn't be considered so high on the brain power scale if not for the fact that Minions were speaking Minionese before humans even roamed the earth during the dinosaur age. The Minions created a language in 2 minutes that equaled all human languages in complexity and scope, or even greater. Minions and humans worked together so much that Minionese actually rubbed off on prehistoric humans and turned into the languages we know and love today. Perhaps Latin was just an offshoot of Minionese this whole time. Now, before I explain the significance of this next scene, I'm just going to show you it, and I'm going to see if you, my budding Minion theorist, can see what's wrong with this picture. Did you catch that? The minions were using a telephone, which connected to the outside world's telephone grid. This is insane. Here is why. For this telephone to be here, and to be fully operational, a number of increasingly impossible things have to happen. To start off with, the minions would have to have found some rare earth metals inside of the glacier they live in, as well as other, less rare earth metals, like iron and gold. Glaciers are made up of sediment and ice, majorly. To find enough rare earth metals inside of a giant ice rock to forge a telephone, in and of itself, is impossible. Then, after finding all the rare earth metals, or creating them somehow through alchemy, the minions would then have to know exactly how to forge a telephone from the rare earth metals. The engineering behind the telephone is not as complex as one would think, but to entirely reverse engineer one without knowing of the telephone to begin with, or knowing of the telegraph, is still basically impossible. Then, the telephone needs power. The minions probably could find some sort of oil in Siberia, I guess, so this isn't exactly the toughest, but to receive a call, the phone would have to be running 24/7 off of said oil. Then, as if this weren't hard enough, the minions would have to connect their telephone to the outside world's telephone lines without having to pay a bill. This, combined with the fact that the minions have not left the glacier in 150 years, implies that the minions created cell phone and satellite technology 4 years before the original cell phone came out, all of their own accord. Then, and only then, would the minions have a telephone, after all this finagling and tinkering. Minions, despite their few human-like traits, have far surpassed humanity. Humans to minions are little more than pets in their grand, cosmic lifespan. In the terms of the minions' lifespan, 80 years might as well be the first 2/3 of the Minions movie to an equally old man. Imagine if you had a pet that only lived for 51 minutes. Would you feel bad if that pet died? What if you killed that pet? The opening scene of the Minions shows the Minions temporarily remorseful about the death of their first boss, the T-Rex. However, as time goes on, they become less and less guilty about the deaths they caused. Ironically, they lose their humanity. Minions kill 50 Jews here, minions kill a Hungarian monarch there, it's nothing to them. They've witnessed empires rise and fall, they've seen races appear and disappear, they've seen every prophet rise and every false messiah fall, they've seen every torture, every cruelty mankind has committed to one another. All of human history, from around 6,000 years ago, to us, to minions, it's maybe a day, all of mankind, one day. The minions have been constantly evolving over 66 million years. They've been growing stronger, smarter, they think harder. They are godless creatures who know they will never see a day in God's domain. That raises the question, why do minions choose to keep their mental afflictions? If they have been evolving for 66 million years, then why haven't they evolved away their depressive urges? This brings me to my grand thesis about minions and their indomitable intellect, the final conclusion to derive from their evolution in intellectualism. The minions once felt morality when they left the suit. However, when the minions were faced with the cruelties of man and other animals, the minions evolved away this morality so they could better suit their bosses. They feel no remorse because they cannot feel. There's no reason for them to feel. They can't die or be harmed, so why feel pain? Why feel the pain that humans can? The minions follow who they deem the most despicable because they wish to see what a human will do to top itself, a simultaneous side effect and result of their perfect evolution. The minions in the third movie temporarily leave Gru as he stopped committing evil acts, moving on to a jam and jelly business. They leave him, the man who so brought them life in his childhood after stealing the crown of England. If he's not evil, then the minions simply do not care. They will find another insect to occupy their mega-autumnal attention span. Minions don't care about their bosses, hell, they kill half of them. They want to see who can cause the most pain and suffering because, simply put, that's all that makes them feel. They have evolved around pain and suffering. They tried feeling something else once, it moved all purpose from their life. Now they watch those who see because in their infinite wisdom, they know that no god can touch them. If we can live forever, then why try? Why be the good guy? Why not be the most despicable me we can be? Are we free to be the me's we'd hate to be? Or shall we see how infinity can be wrapped to suit we, the many? If there's no end, then what's the point of mending those we harm in our day-to-days? Why work? Why woe about those we know no longer are with us directly because of our own doing? The minions have committed numerous atrocities throughout their existence. They've been on every side of every conflict. They're not innocent. They don't believe that they're just living out their nature. They know what they're doing, what they've wrought. They choose to subjugate their humanity because it wouldn't let them follow those without it. They gave their humanity away so they could truly be despicable. What is evil if evil does not know it's evil? Is a lion evil for hunting a gazelle? Is a cat evil for killing a mouse? What if it's no longer their nature? What if they're no longer doing this to survive? What if they never have? What have the minions done?